What's up, boozerinos? I'm Erica.
And I'm Hillary.
And this is Cocktails and Capitalism. So we are drinking the Jack London Martini. It calls for 3 ounces of current vodka, but I basically made that because I couldn't find it in the stores by mixing half vodka and half creme de cassis, which is like the most delicious thing you've ever had. It's like this black currant liqueur that is so, so tasty. And then 1 ounce of Dubonnet Blanc vermouth. It's like a aromatized aperitif wine. And then half an ounce of maraschino liqueur. So we'll post that recipe. But it is just my favorite fucking cocktail ever.
It's so delicious. It's quickly becoming my favorite. Like, yeah. I'm still so hung on the Ward 8, but this is like, the Ward 8 might be just number 2. Sorry, Ward 8. This is so good. It's just, there's a lot of flavor. And it's not, none of the flavors compete. It's just this wonderful, strong, like floral, beautiful cocktail that I seriously could have like, okay, another one and another one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a good description. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I really like this beverage. This whole episode could be on like how much I like this cocktail.
I know, seriously. I mean, I got the ingredients last week like a week ago, and I like pre-mixed up some of the stuff and gave some of it to Hillary. I tried some of it out, and it was just the most delicious cocktail I've ever had. And this is the cocktail that was Jack London's very favorite, that he would have made in bulk from an Oakland bar and shipped up to his house, his ranch, up north of the bay. And he would just be sipping on this all the time. I forgot to say, you shake it and put it on the rocks.
Oh yeah, shake it and put it on the rocks.
Shake it.
Shake it. You gotta shake it.
Sorry, I'm gonna say that again. You shake it and then you pour it off the rocks. So that's awful.
Oh my God, you're hilarious. Don't cut that shit.
Yeah, that was so stupid.
No, so how baller is it that he has this pre-made cocktail sent to him, like, or had? I guess he does it, but so
I know.
Great. It's so good, and it's delicious. Like, I totally get it. Like, yeah, if I had the money, like, and if I wasn't, if I didn't have a 1-year-old to take care of, I would totally just like have this sent to my house and booze on up.
And it's like, it's pure alcohol, right? There's no ingredients in there that are juice or anything. It's just like the vodka, the liqueur, and the wine. And
but
it's
it
just
doesn't taste like straight alcohol. There's like a complexity to it, it doesn't, like, because I can't really do like straight alcohol. Like, I kind of need some some
fruity stuff in there.
Yeah, I need, like my pina coladas. I need my coconut. Yeah, exactly. So, no, but this doesn't taste like that. It's so complex and beautiful. Yeah, it's much like you, Erica.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, Hillary.
Appreciate you, motherfucker.
Too. And you look gorgeous tonight, may I say.
Thank you. I got a shower.
Nice. Me too. It feels real nice.
It feels so good.
Especially when I've been like a disgusting piece of crap for the past few days. Just like, oh God, I need a shower so bad.
Yeah, it had been a few days for me too. It's kind of gross.
It just happens, and it's better for the environment because we don't use as much water.
Yeah, right, yeah, totally. Except for it's not so good for it. Like, I literally could smell myself, and I was like, oh man, I should probably shower. This is bad.
Yeah.
Like, when you gross yourself out with your own stench, like,
I know,
it's probably time to run some water, grab a bar of soap.
Yeah, that like waft that you don't expect, and you're like, oh my, that was me? Oh, damn it.
Nice. Do you ever have cocktails in the shower?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's the best.
I've had wine. I've had beer in the shower.
I've had wine in the shower. I've had ciders in the shower.
I don't think
I've had a cocktail in the shower. I'm gonna make this happen. Definitely had wine in the bath. That's nice. That's the best. That's
hot
so
tubs.
Good.
Absolutely.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I want this cocktail in the shower.
Totally.
But I feel like there's so much that we could literally talk about this cocktail for a whole hour plus, because like the ingredients are complex too. Like the maraschino liqueur, it's not maraschino cherry juice.
No, don't do that.
It's the liqueur that's made of the pits from cherries. So it has this really interesting, bitter, but also nice and kind of, I don't even know how to. I'm going to need to broaden my vocabulary with regard to like talking about cocktails and shit.
I know. I feel that. I feel the same way. I'm always like, oh, it's beautiful. It just tastes really good. I'm like, cool. So every lovely. Cocktail is beautiful and tastes good. Good job.
I know. I'll do some reading how other people talk about cocktails.
Oh, okay. So we'll do more research.
Yeah, exactly. Learning every day.
There we go.
I
love it.
Anyway, I should probably just jump right into this episode because it's kind of a long one, and it's part 2 of the Jack London series that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, I think I'm going to call it "How Jack London Became a Socialist."
Oh,
I remembered that that he only lived till 40. I think I said like early 40s or something before.
Oh, wow.
So all the things that you're hearing that he did were within a 40-year span.
It's so wild.
And
he lived a full life.
Oh my God, yeah. If he just did like a quarter of the first episode, that would have been a full life, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. If I had done anything up until like his like 15, I think I'd feel really fucking accomplished.
I know. And at that point he'd had like so many different phases of different kinds of work, and working in a cannery and being an oyster pirate and everything.
Like evolving himself so much, like
so
doing
quickly.
some really amazing shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'm excited to learn more about him.
Yeah. So this one starts where we left off. So he had just gotten into this fight to kind of establish his position on board the Sophia Sutherland, where I think as a 16-year-old he became a sailor traveling across the Pacific. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start talking about that trip. So the objective of the voyage, the collection of seal skins, was a bloody business. Men equipped with rifles and shotguns pursued fleeing herds of seals in small boats, after which they collected and skinned the dead animals, and then washed the blood from the deck to prepare for the next hunt. In his fictional novel, The Sea Wolf, London describes the violence and waste entailed by such a money-making enterprise. And north we traveled, ravaging and destroying, flinging the naked carcasses to the sharks, and salting down the skins so that they might later adorn the fair shoulders of the women of the cities. It was wanton slaughter, and all for women's sake. No man ate of the seal meat or the oil. After a good day's killing, I have seen our decks covered with hides and bodies, slippery with fat and blood, the scuppers running red, and the men, like butchers plying their trade, naked and red of arm and hand, hard at work with ripping and flensing knives, removing the skins from the pretty creatures they had killed. And flensing is slicing skin or fat from a carcass.
That's so crazy. What an interesting word.
I know, yeah.
Flensing.
It sounds like that too.
Yeah. It's like rolls off your tongue just with like, the brutality. Like
yeah, like you're slicing through this flesh, you know?
Yeah.
So seal carcasses were similarly treated aboard the Sophia Sutherland. Rather than eating the meat or boiling the blubber into oil, both were carelessly tossed into the sea. This spectacle must have been deeply perturbing for the 17-year-old, who would later recount the torturous formative childhood experience of watching fellow youngsters throw chunks of meat on the ground because of surfeit, too ashamed to follow the call of his stomach to drag this meat from the dirt. So another formative experience took place during London's 8-month voyage in the Pacific. Forced to take the wheel in the midst of a roaring typhoon, London succeeded in saving the ship and its crew by preventing it from capsizing. This event provided the material for his first piece of published writing. After London's return to the Bay, his mother persistently encouraged him to write a descriptive article about his adventure for entry in a contest for locals 22 and younger.
That's awesome. He had his mom kind of encouraging him and pushing him. That's really cool. Yeah, I remember you said that in the last episode too. That's really sweet.
Yeah, and when she was, not affectionate as a mother and not really there for him in so many ways, but then really saw his talent and really pushed it forward. I think that's at least so redeeming.
That's so positive.
So Taking first prize for, quote, The Story of a Typhoon Off the Coast of Japan is the title, and beating entries by Berkeley and Stanford students, London was awarded $25, the equivalent of a month's labor wages. His money assisted the London family at a time when it was desperately needed. London had returned from his voyage to find his family on the brink of starvation and his country in the worst economic crisis it had ever seen. At this time, the number of unemployed in America was unprecedented. In order to feed himself and his family, London was forced to take a job in a jute textile mill, where he once again performed back-breaking labor for $1 a day. In the $25 prize he received from the San Francisco Call, London caught a glimpse of both the recognition he might receive as a writer and an avenue through which he might escape poverty and wage slavery. This ignited a burning desire for literary success and fame, one that was nearly crushed by the onslaught of rejection letters from publishing companies that he would receive during his first serious writing attempt 4 years later. When London bowed his head to the yoke and began his work at the jute mill, and jute is basically, it's like a thread, some kind of plant. The jute fibers are harvested and turned into really, really strong ropes.
Oh, interesting. Also threads or ropes? Or like the material
I think
used to make ropes?
I mean, I think jute is just what the material that it's made out of. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah. All the things that I learned when I was digging into this topic. So.
Yeah, right? Is that the material that most ropes on like ships are made of, or?
I don't actually know, but I feel like from what I read before that that's a very likely use for jute. So
yeah.
As like a really strong kind of rope. Mm-hmm. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So he bowed his head to the yoke and began his work at the jute mill, and he did so reluctantly, looking forward only to the 25-cent a day raise he had been promised. When he was denied this, he walked away from the job, a risky move at a time when jobs were incredibly scarce. Aware that he must continue to support his family and desperate to escape a life of unskilled, grueling labor for scant wages, London seriously contemplated building a career for himself as an electrician. So
on to his next thing. Yeah. God, he's just so. I wish I was that capable, to just oh, okay, I'm gonna go do this thing now.
I mean, I feel like you could totally do that. If you just had that complete confidence that you could do whatever you get into,
Yeah, totally.
Which he seemed to have.
He absolutely he just had that.
His balls to the wall with everything. So
yeah, totally.
0 to 100 with everything too. So during an interview with the superintendent of the San Leandro, Oakland, and Hayward Electric Railway Company.
Last episode, I couldn't do P's. You cannot do R's. We're killing it.
The coastal waddles. I know. That's all I think about. Every time I hear the word water now, I think waddle.
Totally. Oh my God. We're so good at this.
We talk good.
We talk raw good.
During an interview with the superintendent of the San Leandro, Oakland, and Hayward Electric Railway Company.
Damn it. It's going to get you now.
I know, every time.
I love it.
Fuck?
It's great.
So London was informed that he could work his way up in the company, starting from the bottom. At this time, London explains, quote, I still believed in the old myths which were the heritage of the American boy. And that's a quote from the novel John Barleycorn about drinking. Thus, he threw himself into the work. He shoveled coal for 13 hours a day instead of the 10 for which he was being paid, unable to finish his assigned task in fewer hours, working once again for $1 a day with only 1 day off in a month.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oy.
1 day in a month. Can you imagine how fucking ruined you would be as a human being?
Just bone tired. Just exhausted.
Yeah. And all you are is a work thing,
Yeah.
Everything else in your personality is just shed at that point.
Yeah. I mean, shedded. Just non-existent.
Yeah.
Oh,
not nurtured.
No.
So at the time, faith in American upward mobility had been widely promoted by the Horatio Alger's novels with which London was quite familiar. The, quote, rags to riches storyline popularized by Alger worked to spread, quote, the myth of upward mobility, which I think I had talked about a little bit before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read those books?
I have not. I read little excerpts from them and stuff.
Yeah.
I read about them, but I did not read those books. I kind of think I would be like puking most of the time that I read them because I think it's just like this one kid had this great thing happen to him, and this rich guy fucking took favor towards him and ended up, and now he's rich and famous. So he succeeded.
It's like, okay, cool. Awesome. I'm glad that worked for you.
It's just a little too like, yeah, vanilla milkshake, like boring, and also like
vanilla milkshake.
Yeah, it's just like, where's the conflict there? Like you got to have conflict in a story, and then anyway. So the myth of upward mobility is the very American belief that one can climb the economic ladder and achieve financial success through sheer hard work and willpower. So, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Horatio Alger's. Born in 1832, this Massachusetts-based author published about 100 books between 1867 and the end of the century.
Damn.
Encyclopedia Britannica describes Alger as, quote, one of the most popular American authors of the last 30 years of the 19th century, and perhaps the most socially influential American writer of his generation. Alger wrote stories of boys who rise from poverty to wealth and fame, stories that were to make him famous and contribute the Alger hero to the American language. In a steady succession of books that are almost alike except for the names of their characters, he preached that by honesty, cheerful perseverance, and hard work, the poor but virtuous lad would have his just reward, though the reward is almost always precipitated by a stroke of good luck. You're right. I'm having trouble with R's.
R's are hard. They're real hard.
And I'm just starting on this alcohol too.
I know, right? It's only going to get worse, guys. Hang in there.
It's only going to get worse.
But in the best way.
I mean, yeah, it's very different from when the My Favorite Murder ladies say it.
That's true.
Yeah. It only gets worse.
Oh, man.
No, I think they say, don't worry, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't worry. Our grammar and our ability to speak is only going to get way worse, guys.
Exactly.
I word so great.
I'm humaning so fantastically right now.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Hel. So, I'm just reading the end of this quote from Encyclopedia Britannica because I think it's kind of funny, the way that they describe him. So Alger's novel had enormous popular appeal at a time when great personal fortunes were being made and seemingly unbounded opportunities for advancement existed in the United States' burgeoning industrial cities. Alger's most popular books were The Ragged Dick, Luck and Pluck, and Tattered Tom. His books sold over 20 million
copies. Those titles, though, guys.
Yeah, oh my God.
Wow.
Luck and Pluck.
Luck and Pluck.
The Ragged Dick. I know. I've watched that film on the internet.
Yeah, you would.
Oh, it's gross.
Ugh. Hard pass.
Ooh, yeah, seriously. Never again.
Never again?
I don't know. It's a little too ragged.
She's been there. She's done that. She doesn't want it again. But just so you know, everybody, hard pass on The Ragged Dick. Just so you know.
The book and the porno.
Yeah, all of it. This is a great public service you're providing. Just letting people know, like, hey, don't waste your time with that.
Just
I got
steer
you.
Clear. Love that. Hillary.
Oh, man.
I love you. Cheers. I don't think we cheers.
I love you. We didn't. Cheers, my love.
Oh my gosh. Cheers. Mwah.
Mwah.
Clear. Nice.
Nice.
Your clink was better.
My cocktail and my water glass.
Nice.
Yeah, gotta get the water. And the ragged dick.
And the ragged dick. Ugh.
That's gonna haunt me.
I know. Oh god, I'm just like the image that conjures in my mind.
I know.
You being
I've got
haunted
a party.
by a ragged dick is fantastic. I'm just like imagining the memes that I could create, the kinds of.
Oh, do it. Yeah. Oh my god, that's
our hosts are gonna get weird.
People are gonna be like, "Whoa, Cocktails and Capitalism took a weird turn."
They like went off the edge.
Well, sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
I blame Erica.
Fair enough. I'll accept that.
Okay, cool. No, I accept my part too, actually.
Yeah, you're a wild bitch, so.
Hardly.
She says so demurely, and I could see straight through you.
Yeah, well, you especially, but yeah, you know my pre-mom life.
Your checkered past.
Oh, you throwing shade, girl?
No. Huh? I'm just saying that you were a rude girl. You're really into ska and stuff.
Yeah,
you checkered past.
all that cool shit. You see me skanking all over town. I mean, dancing. The skanking is dancing.
Skanking is dancing. And for anyone that doesn't know that, go listen to some ska right now.
Dude, ska's the fucking best.
It's the most happy and
Actually, ska is like the best quarantine music. It's so happy. Like,
yeah, totally.
We should be playing it 24/7.
At the beginning of the quarantine, there was a lot of like Real Big Fish nights here.
Nice, yeah.
A lot of like Less Than Jake. A lot of Rancid and other shit like that being blasted.
Yeah.
But then it got a little bit
on some Real Big Fish here pretty fucking soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
It is seriously the most uplifting music that there is.
It really
out there.
is. It's so good. It's so good. This is bringing me so much joy.
Reminiscing.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gone way off the rails.
I know. I'm okay with it, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's get back on track, though. Because Jack London's a fucking shit. So let's get back to him.
So to finish that Encyclopedia Britannica quote, his book sold over 20 million copies, even though their plots, characterizations, and dialogue were consistently and even outrageously bad.
I could tell you were on the brink of fucking cracking it.
It's so good, though. It's like, since when does Encyclopedia Britannica give you, like, this lit is shit, guys?
It's complete, total garbage. Don't bother. Yeah.
Outrageously bad. I mean...
They have to be accurate, you know? It's like they're an encyclopedia. It's not like
that would be
like, yeah, like calling it good would be like saying that, like, I don't know, they're just okay, cut this. they're just This drink is working.
I know, I guess so. It's so good. I just want it every day.
It's so good. It's like, it gives you that like warm feeling. Mm-hmm.
Like that warm going down feel.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. I think we need to make this our cocktail.
I feel like that. As soon as I made it, I was like, ah. But it's the one reason why I wouldn't want to make it our cocktail is just because it's hard to get ingredients.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to cut too much. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a fucking good idea and it's a fucking good cocktail and I'm about it.
It's so good. Bees. Bee. What the fuck sound is that?
Excitement.
Okay. Bees. All right, so jumping in. Operating as a proper work beast once again, London was so physically depleted by shoveling coal that he would be starving but too tired to that he would be starving.
Those R's.
Yeah, I know. God damn it! Why can't I do R's right now?
Bummer, babe.
Bummer. That was so sweet.
Aw. Because I feel for you.
You're the sweetest. So he would be starving but too tired to remain awake for dinner after returning home.
God, it's awful.
I know, after shoveling coal all day.
And needs nutrients and needs to refuel. Yeah. Like, fuck.
So his appetite increased enormously because of the work, keeping him hungry constantly despite the large quantities of food he consumed. The, what he called work orgy, to which he was subjected, also resulted in injury to the hardy 18-year-old who found himself, quote, shoveling coal and trundling a loaded wheelbarrow with 2 sprained wrists, end quote, forcing London to wear heavy leather splints.
Cumbersome.
Yeah. And then you're like just in pain all day long.
Yeah.
While you're doing that shit. Yeah. It'd be awful.
And exhausted and starving your fucking face off. Yeah.
And one sprain, anything is really painful, you know, to do anything on. But you're literally carrying stuff all day, 13 hours. So when a fellow worker informed him that the superintendent had hired London at $30 a month to displace 2 workers who had each received $40 a month, London realized that he was being ruthlessly exploited by this capitalist master. Furthermore, he now saw that he was, quote, cheapening the price of labor and keeping 2 men out of a job. This bitter realization was grievously intensified after he discovered that one of the 2 displaced workers, unable to find work so as to support his wife and 3 children, had committed suicide.
Oh, no. Oh.
He's like breaking his back in a job to try to support his family, and he knows that he put people out of jobs getting that job, and one of them killed themselves because they can't support their family. Like that's
so that's heartbreaking shit.
Yeah, that really is. That is like the brutality of capitalist competition right there. You know, like he is personally experiencing and you know, seeing around him, seeing how he's participating in it, you know. Yeah. So having watched his reserves of strength and energy expended day in and day out, London absorbed the material facts of his laboring experience and converted them into hard life lessons. In his essay entitled What Life Means to Me, London imparts these lessons, announcing his realization that, quote, muscle did not renew. There was no way of replenishing the laborer's stock of muscle. The more he sold of his muscle, the less of it remained to him. In the end, if he did not die before, the laborer would find himself muscle bankrupt, and nothing remaining to him but to go down into the cellar of society and perish miserably. Comprehending the potential for physical and economic ruination that lay before him if he continued to earn his means of subsistence by selling his physical strength, London became increasingly critical of the capitalist mode of production that condemned the working class to mental, physical, and economic misery. His developing class consciousness increasingly mirrored the views of Karl Marx, who also wrote of the tendency of physical labor to shorten the lifespan of the wage slave.
Oh, wow. Were they authoring books at the same time?
Marx was before, but he was deeply influential. Once London discovered Karl Marx's writings and read the Communist Manifesto, which is kind of a like watered down version even of, I mean, it's a classic and intense version of his philosophies, but it's not nearly as like his other philosophies and theories and stuff. As I read them, I'm like, yes, true. All of your assertions are true. Like, I see this whole system and it makes total fucking sense to me. And I think that was the same case when Jack London discovered Marx's writings. He was just like, all right, it's this all, like, this whole fucking picture makes sense now. You know?
Yeah, totally.
So, speaking of the working class under capitalism, Marx writes that it must always, quote, sacrifice a part of itself in order not to be wholly destroyed. This part is both the strength of the individual and the portion of the labor force that is destroyed through either its subjection to labor or its starvation as a result of its inability to procure work. After multiple experiences of wage slavery, London could clearly see the ways in which the slavery and the grueling physical labor it entailed were eating him alive. He had already watched his beloved stepfather diminish in his capacity for work. Increasingly, John London failed to put food on the table for his family by growing and selling grapes, potatoes, and other vegetables. The Civil War veteran had previously earned a living as a farmer, carpenter, railroad worker. That was hard. So I'm sorry.
You nailed it, though.
Thanks, and construction contractor. But his health was compromised by the loss of the use of one of his lungs during the war. Later, it was further compromised after John London was struck by a train, which I think I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thus, in addition to absorbing lessons through the grueling personal experiences with work he had, London absorbed those presented to him in the life of John London, a generous and devoted stepfather whom Jack loved and admired. London saw the looming danger posed to those who relied upon physical strength to maintain a livelihood, laborers who were forever vulnerable to the disastrous effects of injury and illness. In The People of the Abyss, a novel written about London's investigative journalism expedition to the horrendously impoverished East End of London in 1902, London describes how working men and women fall into the depths of the abyss. Quote, "Old age, of course, makes pauperism. And then there is the accident, the thing happening, the death or disablement of the husband, father, and breadwinner." End quote. Elsewhere in his writings, London would draw upon his sociological readings when referring to those trapped in the economic abyss as the submerged tenth. This phrase refers to the fraction of the population that lives in permanent poverty, those who suffer from chronic hunger and homelessness. The term was first coined in 1890 by William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army. It was later adopted by the prominent Black socialist, sociologist, and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, who used it to describe the...
yeah, love it. Love that writing.
Yeah. Awesome. Dude.
And submerged tenth. I don't know how that phrase isn't used so much more often these days, like especially
yeah,
with,
totally.
Like, that is the perfect phrase for that. Like,
I know.
And
I keep coming back to it in my mind since we started the podcast. I keep thinking about that phrase.
Yeah.
But I haven't used it because I'm not referencing it in relation to other things, you know?
Right. Well, and it's not a popular phrase, but I just am beyond baffled as to how it's not a popular phrase right now.
I mean, maybe it's more than a tenth, you know?
Well, yeah,
right
maybe
now,
it's just inaccurate.
Yeah, maybe we've gotten to a point where it's just, you know, it's so much more of the population that's struggling, you know, it's like, you know, 70% of the population is having a hard time instead of...
Right.
But still, it's like, it's such a great phrase. I love what it connotes. And then W.E.B. Du Bois used it to describe the economically disadvantaged Black underclass living in America. Mm-hmm. So this is the phrase that I was thinking of when I was talking about how, like, people that work in prisons, it's like below the lower class.
Yeah.
You know? And like people who are illegal and working in America, it's like below the fucking lower class. You don't have any
even lower than, like, when people think of, you know, quote unquote the poor, it's like, no, there's a whole nother level below that.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Of people just barely fucking eking out existence. And
yes,
you know, it's even more sad and paltry, I think, than like the state of nature, which London talks a lot about. But it's like, it would be almost better if you were out in the middle of the woods and just fending for yourself there than in society, because humans are so brutal, you know?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I like that you like that phrase too, because I keep thinking about it and it doesn't leave my mind.
Let's do a post on that phrase.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. That's a great idea. So, in a chapter of The People of the Abyss, which London titled Inefficiency, he describes the fierce competition fostered by capitalism, depicting the competition for work as a brutal, intensified version of nature's survival of the fittest. London describes an inefficient as one belonging to a type or class that is unable to work efficiently or at all. Those weak of, quote, body and mind sink down, sometimes rapidly, sometimes step by step. Accident, by disabling an efficient worker, will make him inefficient, and the worker who becomes aged with failing energy and numbing brain must begin the frightful descent which knows no stopping place short of the bottom and death. London was horrified by the prospect of coming to the same pitiful conclusion to his life, and he resolved himself to escape this sad fate. In a short story entitled A Piece of Steak.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. I thought you'd like that.
So good.
London uses his fiction to depict the decline into inefficiency of which he was so afraid. Written about a poor and aging prizefighter named Tom King, this story describes a losing fight for the hungry protagonist who desperately needs the winnings to feed his equally hungry family. Weakened by old age and hunger, Tom thinks repeatedly of the piece of steak that would have provided the strength needed to beat his opponent.
What a cool vehicle for that story to use, like the fight. That is so rad. I want to read that.
That is like this.
That is fantastic.
You would like
very neat.
Everything that he's written. I mean, I swear to God.
Give me the books, girl. I know you got them.
I have all of them, yes.
I know. Give them to me.
It's all so beautifully done. And it sounds like it's someone that
that's
wrote
just
it today.
Fantastic. Like that's just, I love that symbolism. I love that perfect.
Mm-hmm. It's a really sad story, but that one stuck with me in a really intense way. So this is a quote from that story.
What was the story that made you decide, yes, for sure, this is what you're doing your dissertation on?
His short story called The Love of Life, which is about a guy, a prospector up in the Klondike, traveling with a buddy. But the buddy basically ditches him when he twists his ankle and doesn't look around to make sure he's still there. But he's like taking off with the gold that he has and leaving him. It's a just struggle for survival. The Love of Life is this like brutal, intense struggle for survival where he ends up so injured and starving that he's crawling on all fours to try to get out of the woods.
Jesus. Of course, the most like heart-wrenching, brutal, like just like gnarly, like heartbreaking one is the one for you.
And it's called Love of Life. I mean, I love it so much because it's like, there's a sick wolf that's dragging its body, trying to hunt him down, and he's running out of energy and fuel, and so they're hunting each other, and they're both on all fours, and it's just the most intense. Like if you think
gotta read that one too.
Yeah,
that's going on the list.
That one's number one for me, just because. Everything that he writes about nature is also commenting on society. Everything he writes about society is also commenting on nature. And that's a really great one about nature that comments so much on the brutality of society in addition to the brutality of nature. Awesome. But also the beauty of survival and like the beauty of...
And the fight for survival.
Yeah. Despite all odds, really cool. You're going to fucking do everything you can, you know? Yeah. You will love that one.
Give it to me. I need it. I need it.
I'll send it to you for sure.
Please.
So this is from that short story, A Piece of Steak. Oh. So this is the quote. And there was the steak which he had got up longing for that morning. A great and terrible hatred rose up in him for the butchers who had refused him credit. It was hard for an old man to go into a fight without enough to eat. And the piece of steak was such a little thing, a few pennies at best, yet it meant 30 quid to him. After the fight, Tom, who loses, weak, injured, and starving, with no money with which to feed himself and his family, realizes that, quote, even if he could find a job at Navy work, it would be a week before he could grip a pick handle or a shovel. It was this very type of demise that London saw awaiting for him if he continued to sell his steadily diminishing reserves of muscle. Joan London explains that after working in the cannery, the jute mill, and as a coal shoveler, Jack now comprehended fully, quote, the merciless exploitation of his strength wherever he tried to sell it for wages. A comprehension that caused Jack to become, quote, mastered by the determination to be his own boss. Thus, with resentment and bitterness in his heart, he walked away from the power plant. Like his fictional character Johnny, London was now an apostate to the working world once again. In his own words, London describes his sudden rejection of a life of labor. Quote, a man may love oysters, but too many oysters will disincline him towards that particular diet. And so with me. Too much work sickened me. I did not wish ever to see work again. I fled from work. I became a tramp, begging my way from door to door, wandering over the United States and sweating bloody sweats in slums and prisons. Pulling up roots once again, in the spring of 1894, London decided to join Coxey's army, a group of as many as 10,000 men marching across the country to Washington to demand the passage of a job creation program for the growing masses of unemployed individuals. At this time, in American history, the Panic of 1893 had crippled U.S. agriculture, and unemployment had reached nearly 20%, leaving more than...
Brutal.
Leaving more than 2 million without work. But to put this in context of the present recession caused by the coronavirus pandemic, more than 10 times that many, 22 million people lost their jobs in March and April alone.
Oh, and, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And only about half of these jobs have been recovered. An article released by the Pew Research Center states the following, quote, "The unemployment rate in May might have been as high as 16% by the U.S. government's estimate, but it is not recorded as such because of measurement challenges that have arisen amid the coronavirus outbreak. Also, a sharp decline in labor force participation among U.S. workers overall may be adding to the understatement of unemployment. Thus, the COVID-19 recession is comparable more to the Great Depression of the 1930s, when the unemployment rate is estimated to have reached 25%.
Jeez.
So what we're looking at now is vastly worse than what he was looking at and marching to Washington about to create jobs.
Damn.
Yeah. So having briefly experienced the life of a vagrant, his return to this itinerant lifestyle further impressed upon him the belief that, quote, life was a matter of food and shelter. To these ends, London honed his skills. He perfected a certain performance by which to extract charity from the townspeople he encountered, sitting and looking forlorn until he engaged someone in eye contact, whereupon he would say, "If only I had a postage stamp, I would write a letter to my mother." It's a good bag, huh?
Yeah, right? I mean, I fell for it.
Yeah, anyone would fall for that shit. That's a good one. So, in his semi-autobiographical novel entitled The Road, London explains that upon his ability to tell a good story depends the success of the beggar, who must tell a story that will appeal to the peculiar personality and temperament. London explicitly attributes part of the credit for his literary success to the skills he was forced to acquire while homeless and hungry. Quote, "I have often thought that to this training of my tramp days is due much of my success as a story writer. In order to get the food whereby I lived, I was compelled to tell tales that rang true." End quote. It was out of this inexorable necessity that he was forced to develop the convincingness so crucial to the success of beggar and author alike. He further explains that his tramp apprenticeship made him into a realist, asserting that, quote, "realism constitutes the only goods one can exchange at the kitchen door for grub."
I love that. Yeah. So many good quotes.
I know. Everything is just fucking gold.
Yeah.
By painting detailed, realistic scenarios in which he presented actual societal ills and fabricated accounts of his own experience, London's begging evoked the sympathy and compassion of his audiences in much the same fashion as the realist fiction he would compose later in his life. So, after less than 150 miles, London deserted Kelly's army, the large group traveling from Oakland to rendezvous with Coxey's army. He disliked the excessive discipline and enforcement of rules dictated by Charles Kelly, a man who must have appeared the figure of an abusive master when barking orders from atop his handsome black horse.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Coxey's army was composed of unemployed workers who were following Jacob S. Coxey on a protest march to Washington, D.C. Starting in 1894, the march began with 100 men and ended with about 500. These jobless individuals hoped to persuade Congress to approve and finance public roads, a move that would have created jobs for the poor and spurred economic recovery from the worst depression in American history. While the march reached its destination, Coxey and his followers were then arrested and jailed for speaking on the steps of the Capitol. That's the pathetic ending to that protest, like a lot of fucking protests, which is so sad.
Yeah.
You know, you did a great thing. You reached your goal and then you just got shat on. So
yeah.
We're talking about Coxey's army. So, refusing to submit to another man's authority, London had further cause for discontent. The masses of men he traveled with received the food they needed from the charity of the towns they traveled through. For a while, London traveled ahead of the group so as to receive the first and most generous handouts from the locals. But after the army's commissary caught him, he was once again forced into the huge and often hungry crowd of travelers. Writing in his journals, "I can't stand starvation," London resolved to pull out in the morning. Riding the rails, London made his way from Hannibal, Missouri to Buffalo, New York, where he visited Niagara Falls. The spectacle impressed him so much that after watching them until 11 o'clock at night, he returned again the next morning, only to be promptly arrested. He was taken to night court, refused a lawyer, and told by the judge to shut up when attempting to plead not guilty.
What? That's crazy.
They fucking told him to shut up.
That's insane.
If you want people to hate your justice system, that's how you treat them.
That's how you do it. Uh-huh.
If you want them to want to burn it down, that's how you treat them.
Yeah.
So he had actually avoided breaking the law by spending the night in Niagara Falls. He hadn't spent the night there. And still he was charged with vagrancy and given a 30-day sentence. This complete disregard for his legal rights taught London that the law, in addition to the economy, denied security and justice to the poor. London's time in prison only intensified his disenchantment with the workings of an American society that mistreated poor laborers and those left jobless amidst the economic depression. The brutality and injustice of prison life, as well as its counterproductive tendency to proliferate rather than eliminate crime, made a deep impression upon London. He would later advocate for prison reform and expose the ills of incarceration in a novel entitled The Jacket, or The Star Rover. It was published under both names. A novel in which a convicted murderer escapes the torturous existence of extensive solitary confinement in prison by practicing astral projection.
Damn.
Yeah, traveling to other bodies and times to escape being just...
That's like, well, his mom was pretty heavily involved in that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Both of his parents were into
okay.
spiritualism and astral projection and stuff. So
yeah.
The fact that he like late in life came back to that, but like as a like stoic kind of escape from the reality of your actual material world, like getting out of the bounds of the flesh and fucking going someplace else, but.
Shit. I think I need
weird.
some heavy drugs to get to that.
I know.
Like, I don't know that I could get there sober as a fucking bird.
I don't think so, especially being in solitary confinement. I mean, unless you're just so crazy from that, being in that for so long that you're just like delirious.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You might go into some weird fucking places.
Yeah, totally.
An ex of mine worked for the prisons and was a psychiatrist at Folsom Prison and dealt with some of the most brutal fucking cases of prisoners who were mentally so fucked up, so mentally disabled, and still they're being punished and put in solitary confinement where they have no control. They're just being tortured to such a crazy degree while you're already crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what does society think you're going to get?
They don't need solitary confinement. They need, help.
They need services. They need some fucking services to keep them from, like, committing the crimes that are going to end them up in that position,
Right.
But anyway, so amongst the inmates, London was determined once again to be mastered by none. James L. Haley explains that at the Erie County Penitentiary, London learned that, quote, there were two classes of men, the abusers and the abused. Although not vicious by nature, given the choice, he would rather be one of the former. Befriending experienced inmates, London soon became a hall man and was thus placed in a key position to manage covert prison commerce, a system of exchange wherein the main currency was bread. Allotted meat only once a week, if that, London and the rest of the inmates were given only bread and soup that was basically warm water.
Ugh.
Yeah. As a hall man.
Non-nutritive fucking water.
Yeah, and that's just going to make you more hungry immediately.
Yeah. That's fucked up.
Yeah. As a hall man, London served this bread to prisoners in cells or on trays as they filed past, while another hall man enforced the rations with a club. And I made a little footnote here that said that the history of the use of the word bread to signify a means of subsistence or livelihood can be traced back to the early 18th century. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, it was only after the turn of the 20th century that bread came to represent money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
I love that.
For more of the history of the use of bread to refer to money, see Matt Cole's How Did Bread, Cheese, and Dough Come to Mean Money?
Jesus fucking Christ. Bread, cheese, and dough. Cheese? Wait,
yeah.
Cheese?
Getting the cheese, you know? Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that.
Really?
I've heard bread, I've heard dough, but
yeah.
Cheese?
Cheese is definitely one of them that's up there, but it's less commonly used, I think, than bread and dough. Bacon?
Oh, well, bacon, duh. But cheese? What kind of cheese are we talking about?
None of these options are vegan. The fuck?
Some soy curds.
Does not equal money.
No.
And it's more delicious in some ways, but it's valuable.
I'm with Jack London on this one. I was vegan for several years. Give me the fucking meat. Like,
yeah.
I want my meat.
Yeah.
Meat.
My meat. So, where was I?
Sorry.
No, I love it.
Meat. I love you.
I love you. I say with the cocktail in my mouth.
Awesome. Nice job not like dribbling it out. You mess.
I kept it inside.
I know, you're fucking talented.
Thanks, babe.
I'm proud of you.
Aww. I need the encouragement, otherwise I'm just going to be a total fucking waste of space, so...
I will always encourage your ability to keep your cocktail in your face. I'm here for you, girl.
Duct tape it in.
Brutal. Jeez. That got dark quick.
Yeah, really weird. It's a weird episode.
I know.
A lot of cut
What is
stuff.
it, a full moon or something? Fuck.
It's coming. It's getting there. We're getting close.
Yeah.
No, we have a little time still. A few days.
Oh, gotcha. Do you just have like a fucking moon calendar up or something?
No, I'm just like, I know that towards the end of the month is when it's my time, so.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, girl, you're on it. You got your moon times down.
Yeah, I just pulled that up real quick. Just reference my moon calendar real fast.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I wish like business women just naturally did that though.
Oh, fucking totally though, right?
It would be so helpful, so good.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same.
Except for then people could discount things that they do when they're on their periods. And they'd be like, fuck you. So, placed in charge of the distribution of food within the penitentiary, London was able to steal extra rations of bread and use this to control the system of barter within the prison.
Nice.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, he's ridiculous.
He's always mastering whatever system he finds himself within, you know?
Yeah. Master manipulator, and I fucking appreciate it.
Yeah. If you know what you're all about and you're just getting it, go for it, guy. You know?
Yeah.
So, in The Road, London describes himself and the other hallmen as masters of this illegal prison economy. Quote, and this is a long quote, "We were economic masters inside our hall, turning the trick in ways quite similar to the economic masters of civilization. We controlled the food supply of the population, and just like our brother bandits outside, we made the people pay through the nose for it. We peddled the bread. Once a week, the men who worked in the yard received a 5-cent plug of chewing tobacco. This chewing tobacco was the coin of the realm. 2 or 3 rations of bread for a plug was the way we exchanged, and they traded not because they loved tobacco less, but because they loved bread more. we but patterned ourselves after our betters outside the walls, who, on a larger scale, and under the respectable disguise of merchants, bankers, and captains of industry, did precisely what we were doing. It's like, we're just prisoners, like, dealing with bread and fucking tobacco, and we're doing exactly what you capitalist fucks are doing.
Exactly. I fucking love that so hard.
It's just like, I don't know, all of these phases of his life, just the way that he did it, you fall behind him so quickly, even if he's being... like
the way that he did it and the way that he wrote about it too.
Yeah,
so
totally
great.
I mean, he's being blatant. He's not trying to say that he's a hero.
No,
he's not trying to say he's right here. He's saying
he's very honest about what he's doing, about what it is. You know,
yeah.
There's no sugarcoating that shit.
No, and he also understands why people put in his same position are forced to do the same things.
Right,
and he can, raise awareness around that. So. Mm-hmm. In this point in history, the extremely widespread consumption of tobacco amongst the poor was largely tied to a lack of food, for tobacco served to quench the sharp bite of hunger. London's description of illegal trade within the prison clearly showed that bread was much more valuable than tobacco for the hungry inmates. This chapter shows London's control of the prison barter system in terms of both mastery and predation. Quote, "Oh, we were wolves, believe me. Just like the fellows who do business in Wall Street."
Oh my God.
We were wolves.
I mean, accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate.
That is a great quote to kind of show the whole fucking thing that I was trying to expose with my dissertation is like, we were wolves, believe me, just like the fellows who do business on Wall Street. Like, it's like this intensified version of the struggle for survival, the survival of the fittest, but like in this brutal, horrible context that makes it way worse. Yeah. Way more gnarly and way more deadly in
Adds
some ways.
on multiple layers of struggle.
Adds on more layers of struggle when like survival in nature is hard enough,
Right, indeed.
Totally. So here we see London once again portraying his illegal enterprise as identical in form to the undertakings of a capitalist, something he also did in relation to his illegal pirating ventures. In both cases, his illegal trade dealt in food, a fact that led London to view economics in a particular fashion. On the most basic material level, and when looked at through the lens of necessity, economics for London dealt primarily with food distribution, for he saw that it was fundamentally a matter of glut and starvation. After leaving prison, London hopped freights, paying for his food once again by means of his storytelling. During this time, London encountered many highly intelligent hobos who spoke eloquently of philosophy, economics, and sociology. All these smart hobos.
I know, right? So cute.
And I'm not even like surprised by that. I bet there's so many philosophers living out on our streets right now. Like people
absolutely.
And literally people that have
college degrees.
People that have PhDs. People that have like gone to school forever and are so deeply in debt and can't fucking make a living with their degrees and then are on the street. Like
Yep. Yeah, well, when you're fucking trying to pay off your student loans, every month is like thousands of fucking dollars, like more than your fucking like rent payment or mortgage payment or whatever bill. It's like, fuck,
seriously. Oh my God.
Insane.
And when you can cancel the debt of all of these big, huge companies, but you can't cancel student debt, what does that mean about our society? What does that mean?
Your priorities are fuckity fucked up.
Fuckity fucked. Okay, so during this time, London encountered many highly intelligent hobos who spoke eloquently of philosophy, economics, and sociology. And hobo means like a hoboy, which
I never knew that.
It's someone who like brings a hoe around. I think like because they go from like farm to farm or something like that.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like
a farm worker that is moved, whatever. Migrating. I don't know what the word is. Itinerant farm worker. Yeah.
We are killing it.
I know, what the fuck. This one is a little messy, but I'm into it, so.
I am too. Keep going, babe. Keep going. It gets real good.
Okay, sweet. So, one in particular, Frank Strawn Hamilton, conveyed to London his own passion for socialism, a subject about which London still knew very little. Realizing how much he did not yet understand of the world, upon his return to California, London immediately dove into the books contained within the Oakland Public Library. Determined to escape the manual labor that he feared would enslave him, consume his body, and leave him destitute, London resolved that he would obtain an education so as to make himself into a, quote, vendor of brains.
I love that.
I thought you would like that too.
God, so good. This man has a way with words.
He really did. He just knew how to like put it just so directly too. It's not even like he doesn't always have to be, fancy with his words. It can just be really,
which is sometimes very
clear.
Off-putting to me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. The more direct and the more just like powerful you are with your language, that's so much more interesting to me than like all this flowery language. It's like there's way too many fucking adjectives for anyone to fucking care about.
Yeah,
like
totally. So at this point, Jack is 19. We've been doing this whole thing and he's not even 20 yet.
Damn.
Yeah. So at age 19, he started at the Oakland...
Teen, like still a fucking teenager.
He's still
teen in his age.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So he started...
Okay.
He's been in prison. He's been a pirate. He's been all these things. Work beast, sailor. So at age 19, he started at Oakland High School while working as a janitor on campus after school hours. Here he wrote for the school paper, The Agus, advocating his recently adopted socialist views to a younger, richer, less educated, and experienced audience.
So it was about 18, 19 that he adopted the socialist views?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Yeah, as a hobo, he first gets introduced to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
From this guy, Frank Strawn Hamilton. So it was during this time that London joined the Oakland branch of the Socialist Labor Party. He began frequenting the Courthouse Square, or Speaker's Corner, where he soon delivered his own speeches that sought to educate passers-by about the socialist cause. One of these passers-by was the famous anarchist, writer, and political activist Emma Goldman, who soon became a great admirer of London's writings and intellect. And she is a huge figure in the anarchist movement. So,
was she really?
And she's really, really cool. Like I'm not an anarchist. That's not how I define myself. But if you want to read anarchist theory, I think you would like it so much more than you think. Because
interesting. Okay,
a lot of people
so I'm open to that. I'm really interested in that, actually. That's cool.
I mean, it's like if you could imagine an ideal situation where people could forego some certain controls and mechanisms in society, it's much more about letting people live their lives. It has a much more positive, affirmative view of humanity that is about, like, we will naturally want to collaborate. But if you put a system in place where we're competing, we're not going to want to do that, So, like, anarchism is much more about, like, if we have this innate urge to be good and to be collaborative, then let's take away some of these different governmental modes and focus on a community level. I like that stuff. But
no, I like that too. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. So, like, that seems more of like a classical view of and belief system in anarchism.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Frustrated by the length of time it would take to finish high school, London dropped out and enrolled in a college preparatory academy that would require only 2 years. He finished the work in 4 months, but was expelled and refunded his money, owing to the fact that he had so thoroughly outperformed the other students. The school believed London's rapid completion of the program would tarnish its reputation and potentially jeopardize its accreditation.
Fucking what?
Yeah.
One student, give me a break.
Because
that's amazing.
Yeah, one person did it really fast. Like, you should be heaping rewards upon him, not saying, "Oh God,
fucking %.
This is going to discredit us."
How backwards is that?
Yeah, totally.
Jeez. That's fucking impressive, though.
Yeah, he is brilliant. So thus, he was forced to prepare for the UC Berkeley entrance exam with little help, save for that which was offered by a few of his friends, including love interest Mabel Applegarth. London passed the exam and attended Berkeley, but was forced to leave after the first semester for lack of the necessary funds. At this point, London made his first real attempt at writing for a living, pumping out stories, articles, essays, and poetry, in return for which he received nothing but rejection slips. His daughter Joan describes Jack's motivation for writing during this time in his life. Quote, "He was writing in order to make a living, in order to feed and clothe and shelter himself and his parents without returning to machine or manual labor." End quote. While his writing drew upon all that he had learned throughout the various phases of his life, he was not writing for expression or outlet. Instead, he was focused on appealing to the audience of editors for dollars and cents. In an essay entitled "The Terrible and Tragic in Fiction," London would later bemoan the fact that great works were not being written because writer folk are busy turning out the stuff, mainly ephemeral, which the magazines would buy. He continues, quote, "The pity of it is that the writer folk are writing for bread first and glory after."
That is so still valid to this day.
Yeah. Seriously.
There's a writer in my family, and he expresses that same
thing?
complaint all of the time. Yeah. And so many family members have encouraged him, like, "Oh, well, just write like the next great American novel, blah, blah, blah." Or like, why don't you write something like this? Like, you could easily pump that out. And his response is, "No, that's not my writing. That's not what he wants to do. That's not his work, And I fucking respect that, you know? I respect that so much, because that's just a cheap out, and that's not what he wants. And
totally. That's the norm for writing. You have to fucking write for money, not write because that's what you think is the right thing to write.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a shame. It's a huge shame.
Yeah. And I wish there was some way around that,
Yeah.
Maybe without capitalism, maybe. But I don't know a way around it otherwise. That's
I don't know either.
Yeah. But London did not give up on his attempt at having his work published until the option of continuing became financially impossible. It was only once his family was down to its last dollar that London abandoned his attempt at writing as a means of supporting his family. At age 21, having recently discovered that John London was not his biological father, Jack once again found himself forced into the position of family breadwinner. John's failing health increasingly demanded that he work less strenuous jobs, if at all. He had often visited Jack at Oakland High School to ask for money to bring home to Flora, ashamed of his minuscule earnings.
Oh, that's hard.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Going to your fucking son figure to get money so that you're not embarrassed to go home. But the fact that Jack would give money in that case is amazing.
Probably without question.
Yeah, probably he was just like, I get it. This is our situation. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah. So the enfeebled John London offered to try to continue working in order to support Jack during his attempt at writing, but the dutiful son refused. London took a job at the automated steam laundry, where he worked long hours cleaning expensive clothing for the rich men and women at the Belmont Academy. Philip S. Bonner describes how here London experienced the exhausting life of a wage slave. Once again, he was too tired after a week's work to open a book, and once again it seemed that he was trapped, doomed to have his strength sucked dry by the machine, and to be tossed aside. Hating the feeling that he was an expendable cog in a cold and heartless industrial machine, London, like his fictional surrogate Martin Eden, was desperate to make a life for himself through work that exercised his higher human faculties that allowed him to live as his own master. This is a place where I could pause, or I could go on for a page. What do you... Yeah, is it good?
It's your call, babe.
Okay. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe that tells us what we need to do.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, should we say goodbye for now and then just press pause and continue again next time?
Yeah, I'm about it.
Okay.
If it's good for you, babe.
Yeah.
If it's good for you.
Yeah, this is great.
This was such a fucking great episode. I love this topic. I love that you did this. This is so good.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, babe. And
and this is so much. It's just so much fun. I love you so much.
I love you so much too. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm really glad because I really writing a dissertation thought that people would hate reading it. So
this is cool. I've always wanted to read your dissertation, so it's kind of cool that I get to read it in this way.
Yeah, the most entertaining parts of it too. The least dry, more life-based stuff. So
I like it. That's fucking awesome.
Well, should we say goodbye?
I think we should. All right, you say it, girl. You got it.
Okay. All right, Boozerinos. There's no wealth but life.
Indeed, Boozerinos, we love you.
We love you so much.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.